Sorry, I have to help my grandpa for a second.
Okay, well, we are actually now live anyway, so because I can't just
Good morning, Vietnam.
carry on the whole.
Sorry, everybody.
I don't want to be waiting too long now anymore. So thanks for joining me.
Okay.
You called to do a video. I presume there's certain things you might want to mention or discuss.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Called to shoot shit, you know.
Well, we did a show last night. Obviously, me in
Yeah, I
Victor
missed
and
it.
were you sleeping or something?
Yes, sir. I was indeed. Passed out to the extreme. There's some sound effects for you, dude. Me getting water. Yeah, I don't know, Grandpa. I don't see it. Oh, you know what? I do see it. Sorry, apologies. The old folks can be unpredictable.
Predictably unpredictable.
Oh, yes, it's very much so.
Hello there to Phantom Cooper. If you're on the line now, how are you doing? I think Mandela's man has just cut himself off by accident now. So, for the backing image, I've still got the.
Could you hear that?
No, it just went silent.
Okay. Somebody called me. My bad. Everything happens at once. It always seems like when I'm eating, somebody calls me.
Hello also to Ashton T, she's in our chat now as Charlotte Nightstar. She has one name, that's her sort of writing name. I think she's into horror and vampire type writing. Twin Peaks, of course. She was actually asking me, for instance, if I write a novel or I write something about Dale Cooper and Twin Peaks, do I have to get permission specifically from David Lynch? And
to monetize it, you do, but not to write it.
Yeah, I think I replied to her with just, not that I'm some kind of expert on this kind of thing, but
I think you are very much.
It's more of a case of just like for any fiction based off of another intellectual property, you can't just use your own and then start selling it, for instance.
Yes.
Even if you've got like literally 2 books sold on Amazon where it's self-publishing, you still potentially could be making £1 on it or something, and they won't even allow that, which is just the rules, because obviously there's always going to be someone who might come up with an idea based off of a Harry Potter character or something, and then they start selling a million copies of it and making money. And obviously, I don't know who owns that, but
Universal, Sony.
Well, yeah, I'm talking from terms of the book publishers as well. Like, I don't know. I don't think they would be say Simon and Schuster or something owned Harry Potter. They wouldn't want people making money off it. So
yeah.
But that kind of goes without saying. I think to compare anyway, the audience for Twin Peaks, for instance, to Harry Potter, there's not really any great similarity, obviously, because one is still a big hot property, but
I wouldn't say that, bro. I mean, when you really think about Harry Potter's structure as a whole narrative, like the original 7 movies, It's very much like the hero's quest, and I mean, Twin Peaks is kind of that, in like
No,
a
I'm making more. I'm
uh,
not talking about the actual
Bill
content
Campbell
of it.
kind of way.
Yeah, Joseph Campbell and all this sort of the
No,
heroes.
yeah, my bad, Bill.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm talking about in terms of just as a commercial property. I think that Twin Peaks, even though it can be devalued somewhat to being sort of like very niche or something, I think it's a cult favorite very much, and still has a lot of fans out there who will just basically go out and buy anything to do with Twin Peaks. Hence
Oh,
the
I
Z to
think it's
A box set, which I mean, I didn't buy it, but
no. I would kind of wish I did though. Uh,
well, I would have bought it if I maybe just sort of thought to hell with it. I don't really care what I'm paying for, but I sort of want to get money's worth from anything rather than just throwing
I
money at things because it's collectible, And what would you really want from it anyway? I can't even remember what
honestly,
particular extras there were in
yeah,
it.
honestly, when I feel like when you watch the pilot any other time, I mean, I originally watched the pilot on VHS, so even like the versions we have now, the pilot looks very much like an old school type of almost like soap opera feel to it, and I feel like whatever it was, a 4K digital transfer of that pilot episode might really kind of change the feel of it. I'll be honest with
Yeah,
you.
I mean,
It's the only thing that I really could get out of it, like that
I
I
think
don't have.
I think if you've seen the pilot on a Blu-ray or HD, then
You don't think there's much of a difference?
I don't really think with the 4K that because it wasn't actually shot in 4K anyway. It would just have been shot on film, and it basically just brings out more of the actual faults of film. Rather, a lot of people say this about 4K when you're looking at older films. Like if you watch, I'm not sure if Taxi Driver is on 4K in 4K on Netflix, for instance. I mean, obviously it looks good, but it just brings out a lot more of the speckles and all that of the film. But they can remaster it so that that's less evident. But in a way, then you're just, I don't know. Sometimes, I mean, have you seen, for instance, the original Blu-ray of Fire Walk with Me that was on Universal? I was looking through this pack. I've got packs of Blu-rays that I put into sleeves and stuff, and I've got the one that came out in the UK. It was on Universal for Fire Walk with Me because I was slightly interested about the fact that Cameron was saying on the box sets basically now they've shortened they don't feature that spelling intro, and so there's less of that or the New Line Cinema business at the start or whatever it is, and so with
Spelling
that
intro?
the sort of intro into the film, like New Line Cinema released it originally in America, didn't they? And so Lynch kind of put a longer bit of wind on that, the
Oh,
going
really?
in with the, but I mean, that's just,
Yeah, it's
I mean,
mine.
it doesn't make a difference to the film, but I think to look at the actual picture of the film in that release, uh, I think it was classed as a remastered version, but when people just hear that, they immediately think, oh, well, I mean, really, it's just a sales technique to get people to buy the latest edition. Like, oh, it's remastered. This must mean it looks fantastic. But who's to say, like, that the original VHS transfer of Firewalk with Me wasn't the best we ever saw it, really? Because, for instance,
Well,
with that, it was open matte as well. It was filled. They basically just opened the book because they filmed it in open matte 4:3 ratio and then just matted it basically,
oh,
pretty much.
really?
Yeah, with Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me.
No
Which was
shit.
obviously deliberate because back then it would have. I think they were trying to remain very much within the style and look of the TV show, except that it looks more film-like.
Yeah,
I think.
I didn't
For sure.
realize that. I think
Um,
doesn't it start out in 4:3 and expand when he smashes the TV?
I don't know if any versions have ever done that. I've never seen any version that. I think that may be just the illusion of the
Yeah, of the TV itself.
Because if the film starts with showing a 4:3 ratio TV, then it would actually make sense if that was the case, as you've described. But
You
you know,
mentioned Taxi Driver there. I do a lot of research on like games, and I can't believe that at one point they were gonna release a video game of Taxi Driver. I mean, how sacrilegious can you get? You know, and it was like a sequel to the. It was a sequel to the actual movie. Like,
where did you hear about this?
yeah, on YouTube. It was a game that like they made the game, but
No,
then
maybe somebody thought about doing it and then it wasn't
they
like officially licensed or something.
they
Because
stopped it from production right after. Like it was all made and ready to go. I guess you could play it nowadays. Like,
I can't imagine that would have been licensed by the studio, Universal or whoever, because whoever owns Taxi Driver. Because to
well,
make a video game of Taxi Driver, I mean,
yeah, it's a weird video game. Like people play.
I can understand someone making a Dirty Harry. You know,
That's more likely. I feel like than Taxi. I mean, Taxi Driver, like in the video game, because it's a sequel. He like actually goes back to like try to date, the girl who works for the campaign. You know, and
again,
yeah, it's I don't know. There's like a whole weird plot line there. Like,
the whole thing just sounds surreal because
yeah, it's just it
it
was
doesn't really make any sense in terms of the film
like
that would have
really
happened
weird.
anyway. But yeah,
I
I mean,
I feel like
like
he's more likely to go with the Jodie Foster character than Sybil Shepherd at that point. You know.
he'd be more likely to like stalk her if she'd been
Mhm.
taken back by her parents or something.
You're
I could
right.
imagine Travis like going across country and trying to find her, but
um,
which in itself would be a very strange video game by any
when you
Travis as like the kind of savior basically character.
That's what it is. It is like that. Yeah. A
I've
lot of
just come here. I've just
a lot
come
of
here to make sure
shootouts.
she gets a good education.
Right. Yes. Yes. Very much so. Yeah. When you say that Fire Walk With Me came out on Universal in the UK, it makes me wonder if like through rights and everything, if we could ever, like, if it was ever be possible to see like a Twin Peaks type of ride at Universal Studios or something like that. I know they do horror nights where they do like The Shining and Stranger Things and stuff like that. So why not a Twin Peaks one? Right? If they were affiliated with it at one point, but I don't know.
Mm, well, I don't know who all these companies are linked up with and who owns who.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing with Twin Peaks is it goes back to the start where we were talking about how niche or not it is. I think I could easily see someone like those, the Grim Life Collective going along to see some kind of Twin Peaks ride somewhere that would
Very
be.
very smart of them to produce this movie with Shelley Long's comeback, and they're producing that. One of the
Yeah,
producers.
but I mean, but to do anything like that, this with David Lynch especially, and Frost, and anyone who's, I mean, really, who else is there beyond that? There's like, for instance, Jennifer Lynch, I suppose. They wouldn't really be like, okay,
Bob
yeah,
Ingalls.
it's a great idea to have like some actor running around playing Bob. I mean, in a pop-up event, that's not gonna. They're not going to want that to be the case, are they? So,
Well, I don't know. Edward Furlong is in there, and he's looking pretty haggard. He could maybe play like a Bob type character. I always thought he needed like the right role for a comeback, and this one doesn't really look like.
Somewhat bloated Bob.
Well,
having a few.
He's a little bloated. I think that's from
I'm not judging him.
heroin use. Yeah.
I'm probably a bit bloated, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's a new direction for the Killer Bob character for him to be addicted to both pain and suffering and donuts and pie.
Oh, okay.
And methadone.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually talking about that a film I watched yesterday or a couple of days. I watched it ago, and I was talking about it with Voltaire about that film Flight of the Navigator. It's a documentary about
Yeah,
that.
I love that. I'm a big fan. of
There's a
that.
documentary called, it's on Freevee here, and I watched it called, well, I can't remember what it's called, but I'll tell you in a minute.
That was a freaking magical movie when we were young. To be honest with you.
Well, there's people going up to him at like a convention saying, "Sorry, I'm having a real fanboy moment," and he's like, "It's all right." He seems like a really, I must say, a very lovely guy, the actor. But at the same time, he's had his own, drugs issues and everything.
In
And
my mind, when I watched Flight of the Navigator when I was a kid, I almost thought that that was the kid from ET. But now I realize they're two separate people. But the
no,
way he plays the
I think
character,
that absolutely may have played a part in the casting because he does resemble,
Mhm.
Henry
Right?
Thomas a bit.
Yeah,
Um, well, maybe a little bit more like, I think he was quite a sort of young pin-up for that film, and there were girls and stuff,
yeah.
and no doubt young
Okay.
boys who saw him and they love
Teen
him and
B,
everything. So,
yeah, Teen B kind of thing. Yeah,
but his mum decided, we're not going to go to Hollywood because, uh,
you're gonna get molested.
well, maybe, but also, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just he was probably just at the age where that may have not happened, but he could have gone the same way as Corey Haim or somebody. And he said if he'd gone to Hollywood though with his mum, I think he says I think I would be dead. So uh,
Another kid that was in those Disney movies was that kid from Daryl. You ever see that movie Daryl about the robot
well,
kid? Yeah,
well,
whenever
yeah.
I
I mean, that's the same. That's the never-ending story. Actually,
okay, same kid. Yeah, he was around for a while and then he
yeah, I
just
really liked him as.
disappeared. Like,
Was he in that film that was like it featured basically an Atari game called Cloak and Dagger? I think he was in that. Or was
uh,
that Henry Thomas? I'm not sure.
yeah, I don't know what's that movie.
But
I
it's
don't.
about some kind of spy, like James Bond guy, but it's like basically a bit like a
Hmm.
Burt Reynolds, Tom Selleck kind of guy with a mustache in it, who's a sort of,
Oh yeah, I don't know if I ever seen
he
that.
imagines him, and yeah,
Oh really?
yeah,
Hmm.
it's just
Died.
like
Is it a Disney movie?
Cloak and Dagger might be. I'm not sure.
No, Flight of the Navigator. They used to we when we went to MGM down in Florida. They used to have the actual UFO out there on the lawn in the back of the park. That was pretty cool as a kid getting to see that like in real life.
Well, I
I didn't
mean,
realize it was Pee Wee Herman until I was way older, like doing the voice of the navigator himself, whatever.
it was very well made. Yeah, in terms of
Oh
the
yeah, it's a
actual
great movie.
the the um the kind of silver morphing and everything, and the way the craft moves and stuff. That was basically influenced James Cameron to bring that kind of effect into T2. So
I actually heard that when they filmed that movie, there was like a lot more to it. That it was a little more darker and because it really seems like when you watch it now, I think it's only like 111 minutes or so. It seems cut short a little bit.
um,
Like it's a real quick movie, or maybe
could have been an hour. I mean,
60.
sorry, 2 hours. But
Is it a whole
yeah,
two?
sorry, it's called Life After the Navigator. It does feature very much on Jerry. It does focus on Jerry Kramer in it, but it is also a lot about the director, who was the director of it was also directed, of course, Grease, Randall Kleiser. So
Hmm.
he was known for a lot of really good films. Um, but that was one they made on a sort of limited budget, but they
Oh
did
yeah,
very, very well.
yeah.
Well, he still had a pretty good budget. I mean, there's one bit where a car pulls up in it, and basically Jerry Kramer, who's in every scene pretty much, gets out, and there's the Grease Lightning playing, as a.
Well, you know how it kind of ends, kind of tragically.
No, I don't remember it because it's actually a film that I've probably seen once when I was young, and
When he
you know,
like he goes in the UFO and he shifts. Like I'm pretty sure he shifts realities, and he ends up with his family at the end, but they're not his version of his family, if I remember right. And in the original version, that family line like went way darker, where like some of them died or something like that. Like it was a lot. Like they had to cheer up the ending, but it still was like a not a good like not a happy ending. You know what I mean? Like he could never go back to
Well,
the
I don't.
original
I mean, I've seen
character.
clips of the actual
For
ending
sure.
in this documentary, and it's basically the idea is that so many years or have passed, like
Right.
70 or
Right.
something, and
Yes.
he is the same age, whereas everyone else is older.
Yeah.
So his brother, his younger brother, is now older than him.
All right.
so,
Yeah.
so it's not really. It's not like the ending of Back to the Future, which some people criticize as being very materialistic, as in sort of like,
Yeah. I've
hey,
heard
look, we've done well like in life. That's
the whole movie is about capitalism in a way, though. I mean, all the product placement and everything is so.
yeah. And then look at the second film, just if you want a corrective of that and the perils of all that business with
That was
Biff.
Crispin Glover's opinion. He's slightly communistic, I suppose. I could see what he's saying about the Toyota and
Well,
everything.
if he wanted to still be involved in it all, and he should have made the second one instead of
Well, I don't think he. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty. They kill off his character like that, like, and then fucking put a mask on somebody like that. Like that was pretty shitty.
Did you get the scripts that Charlotte
I don't
Ashton sent?
know. I don't know that I got him. She's friends with me on Facebook, but I don't. I have to look.
I'm sorry, I've not read you the other one, Ashton. She sent me super girls. Sorry, showgirls redressed.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I was going through. Obviously, I was just trying to get to the naughty bits, but you know, it was certainly well written for sure. So I absolutely recommend anything from Ashton. Millie, in terms of Trapped in Plastic, how can you not know what the real Twin Peaks days are as advertised behind me on
Oh
this?
yeah, they're the real ones.
Like, certain people will mention how you're very much ensconced within the so-called Twin Peaks community, although I would sort of doubt that there is one particular community anyway. There's probably just a bunch of different ones as such. And if there are any communities out there, I think that's only a good thing. I certainly don't think they should be discouraged, because after all, if you're going to be fans of things, what's the point of it unless you're sort of enjoying yourself with other people talking like we do? But in terms of this real twin, like what are the real Twin Peaks? It's just basically a festival being held in February, and I'd say to them, they've got problems right from the off because of the time of the year, because people just not want to go, or want to be trudging through snow, or
Are the 6 tickets still there? Or are they sold out?
That's for the VIP, I think. So
Oh yeah, we
that's
should go.
something. It's a bit short notice for me now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I
couldn't
don't want
get.
to be like sitting around begging for change in Snoqualmie.
It probably cost you like $700 to fly over here, right?
I don't know. I mean, you can't do something like that on the spur of the moment if you want to do it at the cheapest possible price as well, can you? So
Yeah,
it's the trouble.
I was looking at their lineup. Maybe I should go fucking play.
Well, we've actually yesterday we had a listen to the one. Which one was it called? The Wisteria Lodge. Sorry, yeah.
The Wisteria Lodge. Were you listening to some of that?
Getting confused because I think there was something called Wyndham Earls Lodge at one point, or that's some other event. But
That was another thing.
yeah, it was okay. It was actually quite good. What you described as proficient singing, but
it seemed like it had auto tune on it to me.
But I didn't like the guitar on it at all. It was awful.
Oh yeah.
It's just,
God, this thing is stuck in my hair. Oh.
What is?
Like almost have it. Fucking thing. Oh, Christ. It's so annoying.
Yeah, the whole game of Taxi Driver 2
You
Like
see it?
the reckoning would be basically Travis going into grimy kind of grocery stores and just through some certain coincidence just shooting dead a black man, and that's it. In that, I mean, that it would be like a really, really depressing.
I don't
That would
think
be
he.
it.
I don't think he takes Sybil back to the porn theater in the game, but he
I
does.
mean, I'm not even
He
making.
does shoot some more pimps and shit. Like,
Yeah, I mean, what happens at the end of this one? At the end of this one, they go, maybe what you did was going a little bit too far.
I think Martin Scorsese found out about it and then like was like, "I'm gonna sue you guys. You know, you can't put this out."
Yeah. So
Oh,
anyway, I mean, how can you not know about these things, Millie? You are. I mean, this is why here on the streets. Anyway, many people say that you are basically the center of the Twin Peaks community. So
so I found out that I could hook up.
don't play innocent with me. You know all about the real Twin Peaks days in the real Twin Peaks. Okay,
Get it?
get it? It's not like in a fake Twin Peaks. Like, just in case people thought they were going, they're like, are these actually? Did they really film it at this double R?
Yeah.
Yes. It's not fake. We didn't build this after the show.
Well, I think they have to say that because no celebrities are going to be there, like usual. You know.
I don't even know really how you can promote it as something related to Twin Peaks in the title like that. So
Right?
obviously and comically, really, by repeating it, without that in itself being like called out on as something not to do, basically by Twin Peaks Productions, because at the bottom it says we are in no way affiliated with that. Twin Peaks Productions, Lynch Frost, and all that. So,
Right? Yeah, I noticed
I don't
that.
use that title.
How real is it if you're not affiliated?
Well, it's like if you're going to call it the real Twin Peaks, then that suggests that it is affiliated with it. So it doesn't matter in this, like, who's going to read through all of the sort of
It just really boggles my mind.
or whatever.
It just really boggles my mind, drives me nuts. Like what the fuck? The Graceland thing was supposed to. What was going to be the announcement there? Like,
Well, the thing is with this, it's like, who really would want to go there for this big festival if, well, it's not that big, but if it doesn't have anyone associated with Twin Peaks, it's not even got people talking about Twin Peaks. Like,
if I lived in the area, I probably would be going. If I was a local,
it is pretty affordable, as long as you don't get the VIP things. And all of the VIP thing, it could be just, for all we know, we don't know really how many tickets are sold, and it could be a bit of a joke.
I was just about to buy tickets to the Graceland thing when it got canceled.
I think there's always going to be some people who will be willing to just fork out and go lavish with the whole thing, who are really into Twin Peaks. But honestly, I don't really understand what they're getting for it, unless it means that they sleep in really fantastic surroundings. Like the Salish Lodge looks great, but
if you could stay in the lodge, but I didn't see that on one of those when they're like $35 value. I didn't see that there. That would be awesome. Stay in the lodge, although it doesn't look like that in there.
It's a bit more modernized now, and
well, that's a shame, man. They should fucking.
Well, even the thing is, they never used the interior much of it anyway. The interiors we saw in the pilot and everything, where they were filmed down at the place near where they filmed the something, the one where the body was found, and then the rest of it is just a set in the series. So,
are you saying that the lobby is that a real hotel or?
Well, the lobby that we saw in the pilot, sort of where Leyland gets the phone call and outside the conference room and things, those are at that lodge near the where the log is and stuff. But apparently, but the I don't really understand what it functions as. I mean, it must be some kind of place like a conference center or some kind of air
I
function.
mean, man, if I owned that place, I would be fucking restoring it to look like it's supposed to look, you know, not modernizing it. That's the opposite of what you want to do. Like Tweeds looks like, for the most part, like what sort of what it looks like, right? Or no?
What are you talking about now? Sorry.
Tweeds Diner
Oh well, yeah. I mean, it looks about as realistic as you would want for a
on the inside.
smallish diner and everything. Like they did it all up for the basically for the filming of the return, so it looks like that. But I mean, how it appeared it appeared quite gloomy, really, in
Mm-hmm.
the way it was filmed in the pilot episode. I liked it like that, and it just had that kind of long sort of neon on the ceiling. But you know,
Yeah, it looks smaller in the pilot for some reason. I don't know why. Not, I mean, technically, not really, but it
well,
is.
it doesn't look very big in the return either because it's not very big. That's why, like the set that they built for the series seemed to just get bigger as it went on. It through into season two. It's like it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and you know
Right.
they're adding on toilets and all
The
sorts of bits and pieces.
fucking toilet mystery. That was one of the things in my video.
Like
That's no
for
longer
when
on the internet.
yeah when Truman had his drinking episode and got over Josie and stuff, and then needed to go and be sick in the toilets. And
Oh, that was one of the best. That was a good
they
part.
didn't really. They actually he did go into the toilets in both the Double R uh and the sheriff station. So if
That really surprised me the first time I saw it. Like he was such a like a playing like a rock of the town character that was never really frazzled by anything, and then as soon as he lost that what he was whipped on, he just like went to pieces. And I thought that was great acting by what's his name now?
yeah, I mean Michael Onke, yeah,
Yeah, Anki.
I think if those scenes of him being sick were in the return, they'd probably go on for about 5 minutes of just projectile vomiting and stuff. So
Do you think Beverly's husband was meant to kind of have the same sickness that they were talking about him having, or no? Like, and do you notice like in the original series, did you notice all the infirmaries and all the sicknesses that the town seemed to have? Like it seemed like the red room was affecting people. Like I always wondered.
are you talking about in the return more?
Well, no, like in the original series, when people's hands started to shake, um, towards the end of season two, I started to think about all the characters in the town and think, well, wait a minute now. Audrey's brother, he has a disability. Um, Mrs. Horn is stuck in not Mrs. Horn. Um, Hayward, she's stuck in a wheelchair. I often wondered if the Red Room, if those spirits had done something to them years before in the town to make all these people like sick. It seemed like everybody's family had a certain disability and things like that. Did you notice that? Like even like the or the with the
Agoraphobia, yeah. Like
yeah, the dude that was a shut in and all this stuff
I
that
think I think the show itself, like in terms of
I didn't really think
season one and two,
I didn't really think that till I saw Fire Walk with Me and they were talking about her arm going limp and all this stuff. And then I was like, oh yeah, like the town is making people sick. I
well, it's like
even when they say
it's very
like
different to anywhere. I think the thing with Twin Peaks is that it encompassed sort of a different sort of community and range of characters to what normally a lot of American shows back then would have been showing. It kind of had we had sort of like there was this impossible vision of goodness in Agent Cooper, which was a big attraction for many people. But then at the same time, there was a lot of more ordinary frustrations and things like, Mrs. Hayward in a wheelchair, etc. So
Another thing that kind of made me think that was how how the one armed man I believe says in the pilot, the extended pilot, like Bob likes to work among the infirm, you know, which like the sick in the basement of the hospital, right? So he wants to be around sick people, like those spirits, like that's part of the pain and sorrow is people being sick and disabled and things like that. I thought that's why Beverly Husband, and like it was reiterated in season 3, but it
yeah,
was
I mean,
death
I think it's
president's.
about it's sort of about the threshold between our world and the next, as it were, in terms of Bob and Mike being like they're feeding on the sorrow, etc., of
Mm-hmm.
people who may have passed or the people who are mourning for them and all that kind of thing. And that's one level of it. But then there's another level of it is the kind of excitement that Bob seems to get from killing. So, that's
Even Norma has an eye taken. Like that's a type of disability. You know what I mean?
but
Like
it's different in the return. It's not like Bob is essentially almost like a vanquished figure where there is none of that kind of same heightened form of Bob, Killer Bob type scenes. It's just like we get these scenes where people are being killed or shot, and it's all just like, oh, on to the next thing. Yes, let's go to Denny's. Like they shoot dead a
next
man
stop, Wendy's.
in
Next
front of
stop.
his child, and then it's one person turned that into an ad for Wendy's, and that's basically the whole of the return. It's like,
yeah.
check your BlackBerry phone or whatever, your
Well, you
Blueberry.
know what's weird too? I was thinking about this too the other day. If you look at the Wendy's logo underneath her neck, where her like dress begins right here by the neck, if you look at the logo, it actually says "mom," and they're the whole time they're talking about the mother, right? They're calling the experiment the mother, kind of, right? So Wendy's is a metaphor in a way for mom, like the original logo. So I mean,
Yeah, it makes
I
sense
don't know how
because
they think of stuff like this. Like,
who's got a mom necklace? The
pull up the actual Wendy's logo, and I'll show
Oh,
you.
in that. Okay, no, I'll take your word for it. It's
Yeah,
okay. But I
yeah,
think
it's right here. It's like it's like
yeah,
an old
it's
fashioned
I'll have a
dress,
look.
but in the dress, it's actually is the word mom, and
But the,
they
the way that, for instance,
they say
I'm starting
that's
to forget some of the names of the characters now. You'll have to remind me, or others will. With the Jennifer Jason Leigh and Tim Roth characters, the way they behave, it's like they literally are like adult children, aren't they? In the sort of behavior, they're like more interested in going and getting fast food, even though the fact they've just killed somebody, or they're going to talk about torturing someone, and yeah,
well,
it's just
yeah, is Tim Roth's cuckoldness meant to be like an evil thing too? I was wondering that. Like it's the same way like when they went to like that hotel before they
uh,
saw David Bowie again in the Bell or whatever. You see that transgender person there, and it's like not. It doesn't have like a good uplifting feeling there. It's like a dark feeling, you know.
to
That
me,
late.
it's all just part of the whole this sort of setup of a criminal gang, and the way they interact with each other is sort of like teenagers,
Yeah.
and so where sort of people would be swapped around, or a woman, yeah, Chantel and Hutch, where they would just be
There you go.
passed around amongst them. But yeah, it's just really it's hard to describe whether there's any sort of serious point behind it. For instance, you know Chantel immediately getting in contact with Mr. C in that early scene, and he's like, "Oh, you're wet." I
Yeah,
mean,
Yeah, like let's
That's
you
not like
got right down
it's just
to it
funny
there.
because it's just funny because it's so sort of like descriptive and just like a bold statement, but it's totally like not seductive in any way, shape, or form. Like on Mr. C's, it's like Mr. C's attempt to be like, yeah,
Sultry. Yeah, sultry or
kinda like,
something.
but it's kind of like just gross.
Mm-hmm.
It's like terrible porn or something. It's just,
Yes. Yes. I,
I
I
think
I
that's.
often wonder if Daria
And I
like
mean, you could basically say that Lynch said to people for the most of the return, like act like you're in a porn film. I mean, just
Mhm.
this you can understand why some Twin Peaks fans might not be so. Even though I think with Twin Peaks originally, people criticised it for having soap opera or very exaggerated acting. So in this one, it's more blank and it's sort of that kind of soulless experience that only
That's
the
how America is now.
only the kind of well, I think a lot of countries might be as well.
Oh,
And
well, trust me, bro.
especially with the things that people have been
Something
through.
is rotten in Denmark over here.
Well, I mean, Voltaire gives me these recommendations of all these like, so-called erotic porn videos, and I'm like, this acting is terrible. And he thinks it's brilliant, and I'm just
Oh,
like,
you
no.
got you got to watch the amateur stuff. That's where the you know, more
That's
of
where
the
the
real.
real thrills are to be found.
It's more of the real deal. Yeah, like you usually can tell if a girl's like multiple ejaculating that it's probably real. You know what I mean? As opposed
That's
to the
that's the only thing that was missing, really, in Twin Peaks: The Return. I feel multiple
oh
ejaculation.
yeah.
They should have done a scene of multiple ejaculation beneath the
Oh,
falls.
That Tracy scene was pretty hot.
But
I
then
thought.
they could have, if they'd done it beneath the falls, and you see, if you do it in a New York penthouse or whatever it was supposed to be, that's just like empty with nothing in there, then nobody's interested. It's got to be in the real Twin Peaks as such. So if they'd done somebody having multiple squirting ejaculation beneath the falls, like all of these people like Mary Hutter, etc., they'd be able to recreate this there. And with
Okay.
Scott Ryan doing a live podcast and selling his Lost Highway book, and I can't imagine a better time, to be honest. But
Boy,
or,
everybody's got
or
a book. Like,
multiple
everybody's got a book.
ejaculation.
I guess I need to write a book. Like Jesus Christ.
Like, no, imagine somebody could be saying, "I have just having 3 slices of the delicious cherry pie, and I have just had multiple orgasms."
Mhm. You think the cherry pie is like that's a metaphor for a woman's cherry?
Mm, no, I don't think it's supposed to be taken like as literally as that. But I think that the original, I
That
think the
cherry pie.
no, I don't think when Cooper's like going into his joyful food moment, like he's
Well,
thinking at that point of actually.
Annie is quite young and inexperienced. You know, as a
Yeah,
nun,
but
as
this is
coming
just
from
part
a
of
nun.
the nature of Twin Peaks back then. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of the female characters were young and attractive, weren't they?
Oh, so attractive.
So when that's and then Twin Peaks: The
It's
Return pretty much lacked that in many
it's
ways. Not
it's
not
interesting.
fully, but
It's interesting that they chose to have a Miss Twin Peaks concert like towards or a contest towards the end of everything. You know, like which is how who's the hottest girl here? You know, like,
it felt a bit like they were sort of trying to have like you do in a lot of drama and especially soap operas, they'll have the serious, intense, dramatic storyline and then have it balanced against
you know, B
on the other
story.
side, a sort of
Yeah.
comedy storyline. And
Mm.
so it had these shots, for instance, of the guy behind Norma and
See, it's
Ian
weird. Like,
Buchanan, the Dick character, and there's a guy behind him carrying like a deer, plastic deer, with it like literally looking like he's penetrating it,
oh
and he's
yeah,
sort of moving slowly behind them. Yeah, that's just
oh, I have to look for
like
that. I don't
that's
remember
in one of the
that.
last episodes. Yeah,
Okay. You know, if you think about the transgender thing too, like Wyndham Earl, who was the personification of evil, he even dressed up as a woman, right? The log lady, you know, like
Yeah, that's when the show was really firing on all cylinders in some senses, I would say. Even though it was like dangerously close to being jumping the shark at times, which probably people would say it had already done anyway. So
I,
it didn't really have anything to lose at that point. And then I
I
think that's
really, I
why
really, yeah, I really wonder what
it
the.
really balanced things out, because if you just had the Black Lodge stuff and Cooper and everybody pursuing that, and then just pursuing, it would have been just too much sort of, this kind
I,
of trying to retain the seriousness of all, which could have been enjoyable actually, but yeah, I think it worked out best how they did it.
I really wonder what it would have been like if it didn't if it had gone on back then. You know?
Yeah,
Like
I mean, I think it would have been.
it would have been
I
different than.
think they would have tried to really quickly the ship and bring the powers that be, Frost and Lynch, right back into the fold. So it would have definitely resulted in some really good episodes for sure. But I think they would have always faced the same difficulty of writing so much for a week and per week. And I don't know, if they'd been just given another 8-10 episodes or something, it probably could have turned out really fantastic.
Well, that's what I feel like we need something. We need like 8 to 12 to close it out. You know, like an equal number of at the end as we had in the beginning. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that would be a good way to sort of advance it. And
Bookend it.
my kind of feeling would be that I want Twin Peaks to try and carry on anyway after that, ideally. But
Mm.
I realize though that obviously it's not always going to be easy to do. I think it just requires such a high standard. That's the trouble.
I feel like, man, if they're not already doing something right now, I sometimes I wonder if the fans could even just self fund a season. I mean, Cameron got all that money for his little project. Like, what would the real David Lynch get if he had every fan donate? You know, instead of going to a company like Netflix or something like that. Like, could you get a decent budget that way? I wonder. You know.
I think probably if David Lynch wanted to do something along those lines, and it was like based
He,
around
yeah.
his kind of artistic control, creative control, which seems likely, then he's probably got enough already to be able to do something like that. But in terms of actually, I don't think he'd want to like have a sort of online money, call for money and sponsorship in that sort of way, Kickstarter or whatever.
I feel like if we let him just pass away without doing another something else, like it would be just a damn shame, you know. It'd just be a waste, like especially.
Well, I don't think it's, considering that last video that he did, which was on his birthday, and it was linked and everything and put up. It was more of a sort of TM type of gathering of people from that and the David Lynch Foundation. And in that, he looks very well. So, and he's sat in his studio. He's got a sign that was made by his dad actually behind him, and amongst Mulholland Drive and all that kind of thing. So, the fact that he's looking well is the thing, because Lynch has the last few years sometimes looked a bit either thin or worn down and stuff. But so, I mean, he generally looks really good in this video. So the fact that he's taking a month off or more now from his weather report and things, and there was that post.
It's a good sign.
The post by Harry Goaz as well was pretty interesting.
What would it say?
He made a post on his Twitter and he put another picture of wisteria, which in itself is very something to comment on, because nobody's doing that anymore now. And
Yeah, you know what I saw the other day, James, was they hired Matthew Lillard to be in the Five Nights at Freddy's movies, and it's going to be a trilogy, and that's based on a video game. Okay, and he was talking about a prior, like, it was a real short clip, but he was talking about, well, I was gonna do something in Philadelphia, but now I got signed on to do this 3 picture deal with Five Nights at Freddy's, so that's not happening. It made me wonder if part of this wisteria was going to take, maybe he was going to be brought back, Philadelphia makes kind of like logical sense when you think about David Lynch and where Cooper originally came from and all that, and where David grew up. It would take it full circle, in a way, instead of being in the town of Twin Peaks per se. You know, I just noticed that Philadelphia thing, and I thought, I wonder if that was a clue. You know, because
uh,
Lillard, he seemed like I mean, he had a short part in season 3, but it was seemed like a major part.
it was prominent enough, like in the episodes that he was in,
Yeah,
and he had some really great scenes. The scene where he's talking to Christabel is probably easily a standout scene in terms of acting and everything. So, but obviously, the way in which the character was just killed off in a just discarding kind of fashion is one of those things that many people complained about in terms of the return. So, um,
think about Fred. Think about Fred in Lost Highway, though, when he's in a jail cell and a light happens, and there's a flashlight, and he's replaced, right? But in season 3, we got all these tulpas. What if that was his tulpas that got his head smashed in? You know what I mean? What if he was switched out there, like Fred, right before it?
right, but we don't. I mean, but
I'm just speculating, like
there's no indication of who's replacing him. I suppose maybe within the narrative there could have been someone who replaced him in some level. I think that
no, I meant with his tulpa self. You know what I mean? Like,
fair enough, but
because
I don't.
you see that woodsman kind of float up in the other cell. It makes me think there's something supernatural going on in the cells.
Right, but if we don't see another like incarnation of the character after that, then where has he gone? So
Oh, that might be too obvious at the time. Like, who knows? It's kind of
I
like
think
the whole. It's kind of like the whole Luke Skywalker thing. Like right now, everybody's thinking Luke Skywalker's dead, but they could easily, in the next series, they could easily write in that was like a Jedi mind trick. I mean, we didn't see him die. We saw him disappear and ascend or something. You know what I mean? Like it's not really definitive. I'm sure I could write my way around it, no problem, without having to use 2 different reality Lukes and all that shit. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean it's the same. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
Ashton was writing to me actually about. Well, I brought up the new Scream film and how,
Yeah.
and I was saying like, okay, it's interesting that you're posting about this, even really like saying it's got a March release date and everything, but
I think I lost interest at episode 3. So this
well,
is
this is basically Scream 6, but at this point, they're
amazing, bro.
like the last one was just called Scream with the V as in the 5 bit hidden within the M or something like that. Like they're trying to make it, or it was not even made obvious. It was just literally called Scream. So basically, it's a reboot. So now this one, it is Scream 6. It's got the V and the I hidden also again in the M on the poster. So it's like, make up your mind. Is it actually a reboot of the whole thing, or is it a Scream 6? Like, I mean,
That's what's driving me crazy with what
so
they're.
it's like we're going to re-release the same film every couple of years, or it's like literally came out. The last one came out last year, and it's going to be just Scream each time. So the next time a James Bond film comes out, you just call it James Bond. That's it. People go and see it. I mean, it does seem like really, like they're really that holding their cards so close to their chest that it's not like it's not a sequel. It's not a sequel,
I
honestly.
you know what?
But
I predict that the next James Bond will be called 007, and it won't be James Bond. It'll be somebody taking his number. A new 007. And they're gonna probably title it
well,
that too.
they've said it's going to be a reboot, but I think that's just rebooting the character
Uh,
because Casino Royale itself was a big reboot, and
my favorite
uh,
Bond movie is the original 1967 Casino Royale.
well, but
Peter,
they just need
the
to make
Peter Sellers, and David
they
Niven.
just need to make it really good and have a really good James Bond, and then nothing else matters. That's it. Because not have a superhero James Bond who can just punch about 5,000 people in the face whilst running up some stairs and so it's just too. You've got to make him
It's
more
missing
human, you know.
it's missing its original cleverness. Like if you watch that 67 one, there's a lot of esoteric, like wink wink stuff going on in the background. Like what's like it's just more, and even like the Sean Connery
Well,
ones to
yeah, they've
Moonraker. They're it's a lot more. It's a lot more esoteric. Like nowadays, it's just like you're saying, he's like Liam Neeson, basically, just a superhero. Like it gets a little dull after a while.
they've just got to bring some of the suaveness back and some of the charm and stuff like that, and just make it more old fashioned in a sense, but while still retaining, the action quotient for audiences now, but without him just being like basically a boxer.
Do you have an actor you would choose if you had to pick a
No,
number?
I don't honestly, not really. No, at one point somebody said that Killian Murphy, but I mean, I only associate him with Peaky Blinders, and he's
Wow.
so Irish and everything. But I mean, he's pretty slim and like, like he'd be quite a change. But
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not really sure. I think he's too associated with Peaky Blinders. That's the only problem. And he has something about him where he can play psychos a bit, like in.
Yeah,
I'm
Scarecrow.
not. Yeah, I'm not sure it's quite right, really, for the direction of it now. Because already the thing with Daniel Craig is he was a bit psycho, wasn't he? Kind of, but they sort of softened him down. And like that last film, I thought it was good in many ways, but it was overlong and just
Yeah,
overboard. And
I haven't seen that.
the villain aspect of it and things just seemed like almost like an afterthought, even though it was actually quite good. Malak and everything. It's just
Yeah,
it had some good aspects about it, but
that's a fucking Terrence Malick production.
what the last Bond?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well,
No,
you
it's
said Malick. What do you mean Malick?
Rami Malek or whatever his name is.
Oh yes, yes. Mr. Robot. Yeah, he's a great actor. I would love to see him as
No,
the.
it was directed by one of the directors of that first True Detective, that Fujio or whatever. I'm getting confused with everything.
I would love to see Rami Malek play like the Joker. I think that would be a little better than even this kid that they picked. You know, Keoghan. Keoghan. You know,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with him, I think he could be as good as possible, but
the only other
it's
one.
like they're making him a bit grotesque, to say the least. But
Well, if you watch Mr. Robot, when he gets into like a laughing fit, like he has a real sinister, like he already looks like the Joker without the makeup. In other words, the only other guy I would pick is like the kid from American Horror Story that plays like Quicksilver in the Marvel shit. I think Dahmer. Dahmer. I think he would make a great Joker.
well, anyway, I think Jenna Ortega and Samara Weaving, as Gary points out, are in Scream 6, which is good casting. They're lucky in that sense because of the success, especially of Wednesday. And but they're not going to replace the fact that Neve Campbell isn't in it. But the thing is, that doesn't bother me anyway, because how many throwbacks to the original films are they going to do?
The only guy
That
that's in all of them is
Courtney Cox.
no, well, I was gonna say David. What's his name?
Okay, yeah, he's not in this one either.
Yeah.
Only Courtney Cox is in it, so
Oh, okay.
I think.
Well, I wouldn't mind bringing back Drew Barrymore as like an alternate character or something. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be all right. Yeah,
I hate
but
to, yeah, I hate to admit that her show. I enjoyed that show. Like that show's so weird and dark that she has, where she's like eating people. The Santa Clarita diet, like it's so dark,
okay.
type of shit. Like I played as a comedy of all things. Like it's like it shouldn't work, but I watched that first season. And I was like, oh my god, I gotta keep watching this. Like, fuck, just draw me in, suck me in.
Even though I do like Jack O'Connell a lot, Gary, I don't think he'd be right for the role of James Bond because he's just not. He's almost like a junior James Bond junior or something, and he's, I know this is a bit silly, but he's blonde haired. They'd have to dye his hair, and he's still a bit too wiry. And I mean, yeah, even if he got pumped up, he's just not got the stature really of a James Bond needs.
What do you think about bringing the other guy back, Pierce Brosnan, as an older Bond?
Well, I mean, I think that there'd be a certain audience for such a film, but I don't think,
right?
Like at the same time, it would be, it would, it'd be just pilloried, wouldn't it, with people saying that this is ridiculous. So
Would it? I'm thinking.
Well, he's like in his 60s, and I mean, he's been James Bond once. They're and they'd want to have to try and recreate some of that same quality. I mean, yeah, he could definitely get himself into the shape he needed for the role and like really look good, I'm sure. But
what if you had him and plus also the guy before that, both in the movie as two different James Bonds? As a callback to that 1967 Casino Royale where there was multiple Bonds.
Who are you saying that should also be in it? The video guy just stopped.
The guy he's currently in the Doom Patrol. He used to be James Bond. I can't think of his name.
Oh, you mean Timothy Dalton?
Timothy Dalton. Yes, sir. He's still.
Well, I thought Timothy Dalton was pretty good. He was just a little bit too. He sort of didn't bring in so much of
he didn't get as many movies as the other dudes did, but
he didn't bring in enough suaveness. He wasn't as suave as fuck. I mean, in a way, he sort of set the scene in a way for Daniel Craig, really. So, but I quite liked him, and yeah, I mean, that would just be a completely different film franchise, a film sort of endeavor where you're bringing back old James Bonds and stuff. I mean, that would definitely get a kind of an audience, but it would be viewed as some kind of James Bond spin-off in a way, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, they did go up to quite old with Roger Moore when I think when he was last in Roger Moore, he was in his late 50s or something, but or even early 60s. I'm not sure.
That's what I was saying. Roger Moore was a little older towards the end, so you could have an older Bond, I think, and get away with it. He doesn't have to be a super action star. I mean, you could tell a story.
I mean, someone like Pierce Brosnan could still do would have the ability to pass off for doing good action scenes within reason, in the same way that Liam Neeson does. But but yeah, I mean, bringing in actors who were in the 60s and stuff to come back as James Bond, I mean, that would just cause more trouble than it's worth if they did that as the literal main James Bond film.
I think I'd rather see that than like a female take the 007
Because
mantle.
first off, they've killed him. They've blown James Bond up,
That's right.
apparently.
Yeah,
And
I
then at
heard.
the end of the film, it still says James Bond will return. Then they're going to bring back two previous Bonds at the same time. So you've got two Bonds on screen. I mean, that's just
We could even
insanity.
we could even deep fake Peter Sellers into it as like a meta thing at one
Well,
point.
yeah, I mean, this is
There
probably
you
a
go.
film that should be made and could be made, but
That's where I would go with it. Yeah. With all the deep fake we got now, just need a good person who could
but
do it.
honestly, I think with Barbara Broccoli and everything, I was looking up briefly what they're doing with the James Bond property, and she says they won't start filming until at least 2024. There's a lot that needs to be done, and it's going to be a completely fresh approach. So, I mean, but that sounds so like lame, really, doesn't it? It's like, how fresh an approach can you have with James Bond? And I don't think, like as you're saying, that they're going to bring in a woman and it becomes Jane Bond. No, I mean it's
I don't know. We had the woman Doctor Who,
at
and
this point the rational thing to do, or at least the obvious thing that anyone would want from a business sense, and as this commercial property, which is what it is to go back to this true feeling of James Bond, which they seem to want to do a little bit. Like in that shot at the start, at the end of Casino Royale, when he comes up with that old-fashioned kind of machine gun, and he's sort of,
yeah,
and it has the old Bond music and all that. Like, but Daniel Craig never really encompassed that kind of old-fashioned feel of Bond at all. And so, just look at the film that was the kind of the part two of Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, which is actually like a really good action film.
I like
What
that.
it is, it's very well made,
Yeah.
but it's like literally the shortest Bond film ever made, and it really is just, wham bang, thank you, ma'am. That's it. It's just an action film, and that's it. Nothing.
I wish they would. I wish they reconsider this shooty guy for Doctor Who. I really want that African gentleman from the It Crowd. I think he
Well,
would.
they've already got a new guy, haven't they? So
from the tech show you guys have over there, like I feel like he would just be the best choice for
the IT crowd.
yeah, he would be the best choice for the Doctor at this point. I feel like he acts like the Doctor even when he's just him, like the way he talks and everything. Like it just strikes me as so Doctor Who. Like he even wears
I think
a blue suit around a lot of times, and he's got his own Doctor Who suit, like to boot.
I think the only problem is with him is he doesn't have. I'm not sure about Richard Ayoade because
There you go.
he's known for more stuff like he does these traveling man documentaries with people where they go and visit various cities and things, and it's all partly comical. But so that's documentary, and he also writes and things and appears on chat shows, and like they always have some emotional scenes now. The way Doctor Who is and things, and they need an actor who can do that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure if he's really.
But with all the tech talk that the Doctor does all the time, like timey-wimey, like I just think Richard Ayoade, he might even become the best Doctor.
And he's a director, yeah. So
yeah, there you go. Like fucking multiple threat right there. Like I just think he would command much more of a presence than Shooty Uchwa or whatever this short, effeminate guy. Even though Ayode's a little effeminate, but it's in a good way. It's in a tech way, like a dorky Doctor Who type of way. I don't know.
I don't think this new Bond is particularly effeminate or anything. He's actually just like a young, black, attractive guy who's known for Sex Education or something like that, another show that I've never watched. So, it's just going to be something that is.
I saw him.
We just don't seem to be in the days where people are like, okay, we're going to cast a 60-year-old man as the Doctor, which that's entirely
Is that how
suitable for the
old
role.
Richard Doty is? 60 years old? My
No,
God, he looks amazing if he's 60.
no, of
Like,
course he's not 60. He's like in his 40s now, I imagine. But
okay, that's what I
that's
thought. I mean,
um,
man, you want to suck back the
no, but I'm
fans.
talking back to the original when they started Doctor Who. It was like older guys, wasn't it? The very first Doctor Who. I mean, it was
Yeah, until the with the fifth Doctor, I think. Yeah,
well, it was not like really old, like literally a 90-year-old kind of in a wheelchair. That's not, but Anyway, I think they could do that with James Bond. To be honest, that would be good. So,
that's what I'm saying about Pierce Brosnan. I'd like have an older Bond,
so you want James Bond who's in a wheelchair?
not a
Uh,
wheelchair. No,
no.
but he's more sophisticated. He's older. He doesn't have to punch his way out of things. It's about espionage and subterfuge.
All
And
right, Ashton, we don't need you thirsting over these suggestions. Henry Cavill and Tom Ellis could be good Bonds.
Cavill, that seems like it's missing an E at the end of the name there.
All
Cavill.
I can say about those two is it's like I don't have anything particularly against them, but at the same time, it's just like you know,
I think
fashion supplement male catalog model time, and you
Henry
need.
Cavill already has such a similar character with the Kingsman. I mean, that's a bit of a typecast to do that. I feel like.
My only problem with, I mean, Henry Cavill is like he's associated as well with Superman, and but none of that really should make any difference if he was really suited to Bond. But for me, I just think he looks too pumped up for Bond now, especially after like he looks like he just spends time down the gym a lot.
Well, fuck
And
Superman, man. Superman's gotta look like that. Yeah, I hate the new
not
Superman.
James Bond. I
New
think
Superman,
what they need now is an
they
actor
pad
who
him up.
looks.
That new
They need
Superman.
an actor who looks like almost just an ordinary guy for Bond. I think. Like
Yeah, he's
Bond,
Superman.
the original Bond was overweight. Had high blood pressure, had a drink problem, all these things in the original novels and stuff. Now they're like gym trained and honed with
Yeah,
abs of steel and
it's a
buns
bit.
of
It's a
steel.
bit Born Identity like now. Yeah,
Yeah, very
like
much.
it wants to compete with that.
And it doesn't make any sense because when you think about it, in the Bourne films as well, like especially in the fourth one, which we both like, the Bourne Legacy, they go into the whole of them taking this regimen of medication which enables them to function like
That
way
was
above
one of the coolest
normal.
things I've ever
You know,
seen in a spy type of story like that.
which is really interesting and
Oh yeah,
must
fuck.
be based obviously on.
Whoever thought that up or did the research on those pills, that was impeccable. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
Oh no, Voltaire comes in, big
Bondo,
swinging dick in the room, thinking
Bon-
he's like the knowledgeable one. Well, you're not, all right.
he's too old, isn't he? No, I don't think he is.
Voltaire says Cavill wants too much money and creative input. That's why he isn't Superman any longer. Oh yeah,
Hey
keep
man,
telling yourself that,
whatever
Voltaire.
Voltaire, whatever Voltaire. Fucking James Gunn, he blew his load, bro, and he blew it. He blew it,
Yeah.
bro. He blew it. He might have die-hard, lifelong fans not come to his Superman movie because of what he did, and he's gonna protect Ezra Miller like a known like cult leader and like sex like fucking he's got his own sex cult. I mean, come on. He thinks he's
No,
Jesus.
yeah, I'm Dan. I'm with you. I'm not into like just casting older people for the sake of it. Because James Bond is not the same as
No, it's
Indiana Jones. You
you
can't
know
just
you know what
recast Indiana Jones and say, "Here's Chris Pratt." That's
you
it.
know what James, nostalgia is like super huge right now, and having an old Pierce Brosnan or the other guy, I feel like it could work in like a really unpredictable way. James Bond's the same shit. Like they go back to casino, the Casino Royale, and they go through the whole lineage and all the books, and then they rebooted it again. And it's just like the same shit over and over again. Like,
I don't even know what polyneuropathy is. Voltaire says that's what
type
Bond
2
was suffering.
diabetes and polyneuropathy.
I mean, this is not something that was
Obesity,
featured in the films, obviously. Though
yeah,
they should have
poly.
featured it. They should have basically made a whole Bond film about him having to go to the doctors and sort problems out of the doctors. In my opinion.
Oh, come on, James. I think ever. And the doctor was like, the original doctor was like 70 years old when, I believe.
No, we're talking about James Bond.
I know, but the doctor is your culture's other huge sci-fi hero and big hero. Like a
Yeah,
Bond.
I don't think that the Doctor Who character should be based around action and all that crap. Like, but that's how
No,
they make the
no,
shows
but
now. Too
you
much.
know what? I think the storylines could be a little more serious and not so timey wimey. Like yeah, I like time travel or whatever, but if you ever watch Torchwood, it had like that series in America, that
Yeah,
offshoot.
yeah. The
That
original.
was really good because it was really serious, about Captain Jack. Like that's how I got into Doctor Who, was watching that Captain Jack series. Like that was phenomenal because it played the alien threat as more of a serious thing that's actually like going on, and not like camp, like the old Who and a lot of the Who, even the modern Who is. I love it, but you
I
gotta have the right guy. You just
what's this about J.K. Rowling? The new Harry Potter game.
yeah.
I
I guarantee.
I'm not going to buy it now.
Hey, bro, I'm telling you right now, this is gonna be the highest selling game of all time. You watch.
What, more than Pokemon
Oh yeah, dude, this is gonna
or
blow Pokemon
Minecraft?
out of the water,
Those games are massive. Get me on
dude.
the street.
James,
Those games are absolute crazy. People are
if you
going.
see what's going on in this Hogwarts castle, it's like it's
What
like
orgies?
it's just like everything you could possibly ask for. A hundred side quests. Like, I mean, you're doing everything that's in the books. You know,
What is this? What is it called?
super
This new game
detailed.
then?
I think it's called Legacy.
Well, I can imagine this kind of stuff is
Like
bound
the
to be
new
massive
Superman's gonna be, called.
because it's gone round now. It's about the same. It's it's the perfect time for them to basically bring Harry Potter back in some way. And
I have a PlayStation 4.5, and I've been like putting off upgrading, but I'm
you've got
like,
a PlayStation 5.
no, 4.5.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
almost a 5. I'm thinking of upgrading just for this game, to be honest with you.
Well, we've got two different comments on here. That's
500
total bullshit from
upgrade.
Voltaire. I don't want Doctor Who to be a female version of Robin Williams. That's insane. So,
Richard Ayoade is not Robin Williams, Voltaire. Like, go watch this guy's work. Like, he just has the mannerisms already down pat. Like,
Gary Knowles says the game is selling big. Phantom Cooper then follows this with, it's not going to sell that much. So at this point, I'm incredibly confident.
I guarantee it's going to be the all-time highest selling game. You just watch. The other version for PlayStation 4 and 4.5 doesn't come out for 2 months. So once you get all after that happens, wait a little bit, you're gonna see the returns. Like it is
Yeah, I
the
think it will definitely be successful from what little I know of it now. And
most detailed game I've ever seen.
it's like it's gone past the 20-year mark of the original films and books, obviously, and that's when you get the resurgence. Just leave it 20 years for anything, and then immediately people are like, "Oh, yeah, that thing. I'm interested in that again." And
They're
now
talking.
you have 7-year-olds now playing the game who get into the whole thing.
They're talking about doing an Indiana Jones that's similar to this open world. I hope they do that justice. But man, I'm telling you, man, like Harry Potter's that's a Universal property, and once again, Universal's like whipping Disney's ass like in the game market. Like you got to figure that's modern games are like $80 to $100 for the upgraded versions. that's $100 out of like everybody's pocket. You're gonna have that year, pretty much. Even with the boycott for the LGBT thing, it's still gonna be the highest selling game.
There's a lot of money being made. I don't really think that kind of thing is really going to be a big factor. Like
It's gonna be an issue.
it's just
Yeah.
another media craze of like. But I mean, yeah, there's some people buy into this kind of thing. But is the game available on Sega Genesis? Yes, it will be, and that's possibly the best version of it. And it'll be also available on the GameCube and the N64, which the best James Bond game, GoldenEye, was available.
Yeah, they came out with a ported version for Switch recently, and they.
I mean, for a game on a pretty, I mean, it only had a certain sort of ability in terms of graphics and everything. It's decent,
everybody played that game when we were kids.
But like to look at now, you think, oh, it's nothing very good, but then it's great. And it really, used everything that the system could do to the best of its ability.
It broke new ground with how long a game could be, and how for sure.
Well, anyway, I'm just thankful for Voltaire for really bringing some important things to the notice of the public who are watching now. It won't sell more than COD. A game called COD about the fish.
What's COD?
Oh, sorry, Call of Duty. Sorry.
Oh,
I thought that'd be. I'd actually go and buy a game that was just about a fish, and then that's a bit like that old game. Remember Echo? Where you're like, and I could never get very far on it or anything, but I like the idea of being in control of a beautiful dolphin and swimming naked with the dolphin whilst getting, aroused.
That was a cool game.
I always remember that. Yeah. My mum would often walk in on me playing Echo nude. And I was covered in water and everything that I put on myself with a flannel. Mum, I'm diving with a dolphin. Leave me alone. Robin Williams suffers new hurdle in bid to build underground pool and gym at his 17.5 million home as battle with neighbor and Led Zeppelin guitarist Jimmy Page rumbles on. Well, thank you for bringing that.
Recently, he got Robbie Williams. I thought you said Robin Williams. He had gotten divorced from Bill Gates.
Who?
Some people think that Bill Gates' wife, that's Robin Williams transitioned. If you look at it's an uncanny result.
Well, you just look at Robbie Williams' wife. She looks a little bit,
Yeah.
And they've always said that he was gay and stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't interest me. I mean, I'm hugely supportive of Robbie Williams, and
I'm always suspect of like a singer, Hollywood person that gets involved with the UFO thing. Like that's always suspect as hell. Like the guy Blink 182 and Robbie Williams, they're very much like.
Yeah, but Robbie Williams is from Stoke-on-Trent in England, and the guy from Tom DeLonge, he's from California, I presume.
They're both advocates for this declassification of UFO.
Can't these people just get obsessed with things? Like Robbie Williams admitted that he had a point where he just went a bit nuts, and he kind of started getting into all this kind of stuff. So,
of all the people, but just I don't know. It just
some people can fall down a rabbit hole like that.
It screams deep state to me. Like Blink 182, come on, like what?
Well, what is the deep state supposed? What are they trying to achieve by getting these people to say, UFOs are real and stuff?
You know what it is, James? That they build up a reputation and then they present fake stories that the Pentagon gives them about certain UFO events, and they promote those over other events that might be more real. That's what I found. That they like this Tic Tac thing. You're telling me that all this time that's the only video you could declassify and give the public some blurry ass like black and white barely looks like a Tic Tac. Like, come on, man. They probably have high definition 4K video of UFOs like 100 feet off the ground where you could see in the windows and everything. Like, don't tell me this Tic Tac video is like this is the height of declassification because there's no way. If you really think about it, like there's no point.
Well,
I don't know.
um,
Like I just
an interesting question from Ashton, though. Anyway, just
don't
to
trust
go
the I don't trust the one. Like as far as I could throw.
not related to that. When it comes to films, shows, should the music be of this era in it, or can it have the music of the 70s, 80s, or 90s, even though the film show isn't from those eras?
Yes, I vote for the second thing, the latter, the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Yeah, all that could be whatever. Like you have a contemporary song, and then next minute you could have 1936 if you want. If you really work it into the story of the script.
Yeah, I think
Depends on
it's an
what's up.
interesting question in terms of some films made nowadays. Like a lot of modern films use sort of very modern style of soundtrack and like a lot of it's synth and everything like that. But
If you're
I mean,
right,
you can hardly get like an orchestra for a lot of films to be made, and it's so expensive, obviously. But in terms of using songs and stuff, sometimes it does really feel out of place when films use music that's from another time or whatever, from the 70s or something, just
well,
shoved in there. So
when if it doesn't feel as bad when it's something from the past, but when you're telling a story like let's say a perfect example of this would be the Heath Ledger movie where he's Arthur, and they have like modern songs with the Arthurian legend. That to me is very off-putting. Stuff like that. But vice versa, like a modern day story with old music. Look at like Pulp Fiction, stuff like that. It had 70s music. It can work. It's just you got to write it into the script. And if you're writing the script for something, if you use really old music, like back in the day, you can get it royalty free and not have to pay for those. Because that ends up being a big part of the budget now. People are so cutthroat about the copyrighted music. That's why we always have to cut it out of all our videos.
well, yeah, I've stopped playing music and stuff like that because it's just forgot about doing that. But can't really avoid it if it's in trailers and things. I mean, this new show, which I do intend to watch, The Last of Us, is popular at the moment, and they're saying like some of the songs it's using in it, which might be from the 80s, are just suddenly, reaching like number one in the charts or whatever on the basis of that. So I know that I know Take On Me by Aha was on the advert for it. So I don't know if that's been used in the show yet, but you can understand the idea behind that because it's like this is music from a sort of when times were happy, so-called prior to whatever's happened in this, post-apocalyptic situation. So here's some 80s synth music, which is more upbeat and all. So it brings contrast and everything, doesn't it? So
right. Or what if you have a flashback to the 80s? You should play some 80s music, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it depends. Any music is suitable for a film. It's just where to put it in. And a lot of music now, a lot of current music is very 80s inspired anyway. So there's that as well.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. Like you see the '90s show now, like because we've moved, time moves on, and it's always nostalgic for 25 to 30 years before. But it feels like the music hasn't moved on. Like it's still this '80s nostalgia type of.
Well, there's no real. It's like when we were at our sort of.
You got your pro
and that kind of. Not that you see, I was never like into Nirvana, for instance.
Nirvana.
Like my friend would be putting that on in his car, and the Metallica, the Black Album, for instance. And I thought, oh, okay, this is okay, but it's just, but that was like top of the charts back then. Is Mandela Man still here? I don't know. So yeah, am I just talking to myself now? So but anyway, the charts nowadays, they don't seem to have any real. His picture's like glitching or something. There doesn't seem to be that kind of guitar-based rock music, or so much of the solo, singer-songwriter type music, apart from artists who feel really manufactured often, like Adele, or no, I don't have anything like some kind of issue with Adele, but I mean, I don't know, but the whole thing just seems like so produced and so manufactured. And yeah, obviously, I know that always going back into the 80s and 90s, that things were very produced and very manufactured and all this kind of stuff. You only have to think of Voltaire's favorite bands like Phil Collins and Huey Lewis and the News. I mean, they were very, very produced.
Sorry, I cut out there for my bad.
So yeah, I was just covering whilst you'd gone. I was just covering like how the charts have changed, and we don't have like basically guitar sort of bass bands or singer songwriter type acts as much.
I was riding in the car the other day, and I heard on the radio a song which had the exact same music as "I'm Blue, IOD Till I Die, Dabo Dee, Dabo Die." You know
Oh,
that
there's a
one?
new version of that with someone else
Like
singing on it.
with new lyrics and everything, and
That song was terrible the first time, so I don't know why they've had to bring it out. But
like, why
yeah,
is
anything.
it again? Yeah, it's really weird. Like,
Okay, let me just keep up with some of this chat now. I don't really understand what's happening. Millie says, I prefer music that is not of this era. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I think, yeah, the same thing has happened again. Once they start smashing his cigarettes, the sound and visuals gone out there. I think like modern things, they need modern music in it, for sure. But but it needs to be balanced. And there's definitely something to be said for sort of having a radio tuning kind of idea, that sort of Tarantino and thing that Lynch has done, where it's like you're watching a film and someone's tuning through the radio a bit. So it goes through different styles and things like that. Like you just look at Fire Walk with Me, all of that music was completely modern and made for the film. And ideally, that's how I think it should be sometimes. I think like as soon as basically a film includes music which is known already in it, they've got like the slower version, the acoustic version of Take On Me by a-ha playing in Deadpool 2. And I know that Ashton's been watching that, and it's just immediately becomes sort of like a tearjerker moment. And the music is saying, okay, now you're supposed to be emotional. And it's not really very creative. It's just mood music, I suppose. I do think discos should come back in style, though, actually, Ashton, but I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately, especially after the effects of the pandemic, which obviously hasn't ended, but in terms of the after effects of it all, the afterglow, as it were, I don't really think you could start up a disco called the Afterglow in some town centre wherever you live and it be guaranteed to have people just sort of hanging around in there listening to the latest music. Because nowadays, people like Voltaire, for instance, he travels everywhere in LA by bus, and he goes around with like a sound bar playing Will Young Sam Smith, and Adele mainly on his soundbar as he's going around, with his briefcase and stuff, with all paper flying out of it everywhere in a comical fashion, sometimes going out the window even. And then there's people like looking, going, "Oh my god, that guy's crazy," and he's like, "Yeah, I don't give a fuck." And then that song by Adele, "Someone Like You," comes on, and he's like, "Yeah, I can be emotional too." And then he sort of meets eyes with a woman and just stares at her intently for 5 minutes. So you see, nowadays people bring the disco out into the open marketplace of life, as it were, to the supermarket, anywhere, and they don't want to be confined to some spacious discotheque surrounding. Which back in the day, like if you saw the places in Ripley and Derbyshire, they were literally just cramped, sweaty. Um, you could literally feel the moisture on the walls and the smell of perfume, and mainly, obviously, Brut or Old Spice. And for the women, obviously, something like, I don't know, a female version of Mandate, whatever. And that kind of thing was like novel then. So you'd be listening to sort of, Bros, When Will I Be Famous, and thinking, yeah, that's a good song, actually. Because I actually did think to myself, when will I be famous? And then, you're like, I can't answer that. And then you think to yourself, oh, maybe is it a rhetorical question, actually? Or should I even be asking this question? This band, and then you think these band came up with some of the most profound lyrics of the later 80s, especially with the song called Drop the Boy, which was about uh, basically don't call me a boy anymore because I'm a man. And it starts off with lyrics about putting a little touch of gel in your hair. And I really like that because I would often do that, just when before I go outside. Well, thank you for that. Lynch said he would feature Bad to the Bone heavily in his next project. I don't know if that's true. What you made a claim earlier about that. I think it sounds like made up or something. So, isn't that something you said was associated with Mr. C? Or I can't remember, what did you say? Someone wrote about it. Just going back through the chat, I can't remember where it is. Millie still has him N64 and a GoldenEye. If it's not on Commodore 64, I would agree, actually, Gary. It should be back. What would you call that? Sort of like back programmed or something. I mean, for me, if it's not on the ZX Spectrum, then it's not happened, frankly. Well, Pimpin' X, I don't even have a game system because I gave it to somebody. And I was getting into the idea that, you by a certain age, you shouldn't be playing games and stuff like this. But I've realized that's just nonsense. If you enjoy it, then you may as well have a look. Howell Lynch wanted to play Bad to the Bone every time Mr. C was on camera. Yeah, I can imagine, actually. That would have been good. But it was going to be a new version of Bad to the Bone by Miley Cyrus, apparently. Because Lynch has always been on good terms with Billy Bob after the appearance he made in Mulholland Drive. So he was like, could you do me a favor, Billy Bob, and get that scallywag daughter of yours, Miley, to sing Bob Bad to the Bone now, please. And he's like, all right, for you, I sure goddamn will, Mr. Lynch. And apparently they recorded it in the studio, so it's just not been used for some reason. Probably licensing rights or something. Yeah, I hope he's okay. I don't know what's happening now. We've got his video, but he's not on. I'll leave it for a couple of minutes, and then obviously if he's not come back, then I'll probably just have to close the video for now. Voltaire has exactly the taste of Patrick Bateman, but if he was alive in 2023, and so now he's into more modern stuff. I mean, he says actually that he's really into Foo Fighters now. You know that song, that one that goes something like one by one, and I'm on to the next one by one, and I'm on to the next one by one, and I'm on to the next one by one, and I'm on to the next one by one, and I'm on to the next one by one, and I'm on to the next one by one, and I'm on to the next one by one, and I'm on to the next one. He says that he likes that one, but mainly for the lyrics. So I don't know, it's just personal choice. Yeah, Ashton T, you're talking about that song that Pitbull did with Christina Aguilera, I presume. That did use the music from Take On Me, and that was appalling, frankly. I don't even know what hip hugger bell bottoms are, to be honest. So, well, Bros are still going. I mean, they had a recent documentary which was pretty insightful, I think. I'm not answering that one, Phantom Cooper. That's just too not something that I know a lot about. I said my sources tell me Lynch wanted to play Bad to the Bone every time Mr. C was on camera in the film, but it was too much money for the rights. Backwards compatible, absolutely, yes. Thank you. Bad to the GC. Well, anyway, seems like Mandela Man's just disappeared all of a sudden. So since it's midnight here, I'll be heading off, I think. Oh, he probably realised I was here and then just came on. I don't think your microphone is working now. Ugh.
Working now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
So, I was going to show you something about Too Old to Die Young, if you're interested. Or should we save that for next time?
Well, you can mention it on here now and then raise it then as well.
Well, it's a little, it'll take a little bit, You got to look something up, and we got to show the people.
I've got to.
That's correct.
At midnight.
I don't. Yeah, I don't have the
Can't you
capability.
just present these things to me and then I'll have them and stuff?
Man, as soon as I get a laptop, I will. I will have that
Or
capability.
I don't know, maybe just talk about it. I'm not.
Well, I'll save it then. You know, I'll try to shoot you. Let's see, could I shoot you the link? Yeah, I'll shoot you the link before next show, and you'll have the clip that I want you to pull up already, and then because I have to show a clip, and then I have to show like a piece of the narrative, and it's just so weird. It's just like something so weird, like
What? What's weird?
it. Okay, so like you know this channel on YouTube called the Y Files. Have you ever seen these?
No, no.
Okay, so it's a relatively new channel that is kind of does like different conspiracies. And what's cool about it is it seems like this researcher guy, he always seems to find a little tidbit about each conspiracy that nobody's ever heard before. And which is kind of unusual when you study these things over and over again. So on his channel, if you pull it up, I mean, you could pick the conspiracy. He's only been out for like 2 years or so. Okay. Now, Too Old to Die Young came out before this, like by a year or two. Okay, so in his videos, he has this little goldfish that is like has like does like a funny voice, and he plays. It's like his puppet, kind of like he plays off of it, right? And I noticed in Too Old to Die Young, in the very last episode, before she gives that speech that I played for you guys, you know, the other day about the pedophile future and all that, she sits down and watch like a YouTube, specifically like a YouTube video on her computer about aliens. So it's about conspiracies, and it shows like a little puppet like doing the exact same voice that this dude's channel, and like there's no other channel like this. So it seems like this predicted like his channel's existence. You know, the only thing I could think is like if the writer knows him or something. You know what I mean? Like something weird like that, because you figure like the script has to be written way beforehand. You know, before it gets made into an Amazon Prime show. You know what I mean? So it's just really odd. It's like, you know, it's basically
Mm.
like predicting like a little niche YouTube channel that it's just so I don't know. It's just weird. Like anybody presenting
You're
conspiracies
saying that.
is suspect now. Yeah, yeah.
So
You know,
this channel. What is the symbol thing again? Is it a little goldfish or something?
on the real channel it's a goldfish. On here it's like a little puppet, but it's
What is it like a?
doing the same thing, like the same shtick that he
Is it just a
does.
symbol on the screen, like a graphic, or on the?
No, no. He if you pull up one of his videos, it's called the Y Files. WHY. If you pull up one of his videos, you'll see him start to talk to the goldfish, and the goldfish talks back. I'm pretty sure the goldfish is his voice. You know what I mean? Like, but super high pitched or something like that. And it's just weird how she's watching a video of like the same exact thing, and there's no other channel like this. But the channel didn't exist when this came out. You know what I mean? I don't know. I thought it was weird. Like,
How do you know the channel didn't exist though? Are you sure?
because you can go back on the timeline and look, you know, when the channel began. Like it's not been around that long. Too Old to Die Young, I think, came out at least 2 years before the channel's existence.
Is there a
It's-
clip of this thing? This
yeah,
actual.
I got the Too Old to Die Young clip. You pull
Oh,
up
all
the
right. Well, if you just post that to me,
the
then
goldfish.
I found it. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's not exactly. I mean, it's not big on it. Maybe it does appear bigger on the screen, but this is just one instance, for instance.
yeah.
So
They have the same goldfish stick. You know, you know.
just it comes up like next to his headline or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
He's pretty good researcher, but it's I don't know. I think he's got a team behind him. It just seems Like
Well, obviously you can see the goldfish there. So
the way the narrative is in Too Old to Die Young, how it's like about the cartel making their stories into a streaming service show. Like they even mention that, and you know what I mean. Makes me think that the channel here, the Y-Files, might be like a state run thing, or you know, like a deep state thing. And it's a little suspect, like when you're that accurate predicting its existence, like way before. They call that predictive
are you going to
programming.
show? Are you going to show the clip of the actual thing, or
Yeah, well, yeah. Show the
send me?
goldfish
Are you going to
first,
send me the link? I did. I
or
already
should I?
did.
Yeah, I'll show the Too Old to Die Young first, and then show one of his goldfish clips. No, you know, I don't have to say anything like that. I got it pulled up. That's what's so nice about the TVs we have now. Like they don't flash like the old CRTs when you tape them with like another camera, right? Let's see. Zoom out here. That's probably good. We're gonna need some sound.
Why is sound important?
Uh so you can hear the voice that this puppet creature, that the puppet character is doing, and the character's talking about, like the thing she's watching, is totally what the Y Files is like. Conspiracies about aliens and like all the different conspiracies. It's just so fucking bizarre. Like
the strange pill-shaped object you see in this photograph was observed by a military helicopter off the coast of California. This object seemed to move in tandem with our chopper, almost as if it were watching the pilot. When she reported back later, all Captain Scott could talk about was how beautiful this object was, how it was illuminated with light and seemed to ooze with a strange peacefulness. She felt the inhabitants of this spaceship were communicating directly with her. It was almost as if they had invaded her very mind. And the message they seemed to impart was this: if the human race could only get along with these beings from another planet, then peace, love, and happiness would spread across all the civilized world. Captain Scott was so moved by her contact with this alien force, she has devoted her entire life to their cause.
Where's the goldfish then?
Now let's hear what Monkey Puppet has to say.
Now let's hear what Monkey Puppet has to say. Now watch this.
Hi, I'm Monkey Puppet. I guess you want to know what I think about this UFO brouhaha, huh? Well, I think this chick has lost her cotton-picking mind. She got up there in all that thin air, and the altitude got to her. Huh? Who gives a rat's ass anyway? I give zero fucks about peace on Earth. That's for hippies. Burn it down. Blow it up. Monkey Puppet doesn't care. Monkey Puppet doesn't care. Long live the new god, Monkey Puppet.
Okay, so notice like the snarky nature and how that thing talked. Right now, please put on one of his videos and check out how exactly. I mean, it's like to a T, like the same voice and everything, like the same snarky comments, the whole thing. Like it's just so freaking bizarre. You could pick any conspiracy; it don't matter. The fish is in them all. The fish talks exactly like that puppet, and there's no other show that I
Okay,
know of.
well, I think we'll save it till Sunday, next Sunday, when Voltaire's on to really take you this,
Yeah, okay.
take this in. So, because I mean, it is after midnight here for me now, so I'm going to have to end today.
Well, okay. It works better if you play maybe like 3 or 4 minutes of that, but we could wait till next time. Whatever.
Well, ideally, you'd be able to bring these things up on the screen.
Man.
So
this has been a Mandela Man Conspiracy Corner.
Thanks again, anyway, for everyone for watching. And obviously, there's been a lot of technical issues tonight, which have been a pain in the arse. So
You,
sorry
the
about
audience, the audience at home, can look the Wi-Fi's up as soon as we're off. Check out how that fish sounds compared to what we just watched and what it says.
that. Yeah, it's like a generic Muppet noise sound. Voice.
It's like the writer had to know this guy and know that
or
the
the
channel
Muppets.
is going to be a thing and like everything. Like it's just really bizarre. It's just weird how in the narrative of this show, it's literally like the cartel is telling you, like, oh, we should. They have that scene where they're talking about we should make our cartel stories into. Yeah, we should have a show. We should have a streaming show. Yeah. Oh. It just makes you wonder about like who funded this Ruffin's work here. This shit was dark.
Yeah.
The police officer, like spoilers, but what happens to the police officer? That's not a happy ending.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten less and less fond of Ruffin, honestly, especially up to his latest one, Copenhagen Cowboy. He's like,
Did you finish that yet?
He seems a bit in love with his own style and pretentiousness.
Mm-hmm.
No, I got to about part 5, and I mean, it really is for him. Just
finish it off.
It is incredibly slow and just not that captivating. But it certainly has. I think the central actress as Moo, she's very good, but
okay.
Beyond that, really, I'm not really a massive fan of this latest one. So.
Well, check out the last episode, because the thing we just watched right here, what that puppet was talking about, that plays into that last episode a little bit. Like it's interesting. You'll see what I mean.
All right. Well, let's meet again very soon, anyway, and see you in the trees, everybody. Thank you very much. Let's end this one and carry on to the next one. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for joining me, Mandela Man, and all the best for now.
All right.